Well, good morning, everyone. I'd like to call to order this Pierce County Council meeting and Monday study session. It is Monday, September 16th, 2024. The time is 11:01 a.m. All members are present except for Council Members Morrell and Vice Chair Campbell. Both are excused. That brings us to item number 2, which is review of the September 17th, 2024. This is tomorrow's regular council meeting agenda. Ms. Long.
Thank you, and good morning. This is tomorrow afternoon's regular council meeting agenda. We'll start with your consent agenda on page 2. You have one item for introduction and scheduling. That's O 2024-552. This is vacating a portion of 100th Street East. And this is for referral to EIDC, and you'll be setting the final on this one for October 15th. Looking at your final actions for tomorrow on your consent agenda, you have 2 resolutions. The first is R 2024-209, and this is confirming the appointment of 1 new member to the Mid-County Land Use Advisory Commission. The other is R 2024-210, and this is confirming the appointment of 1 new member to the Frederickson Land Use Advisory Commission. There is 1 grant, and Mr. Boki will be briefing you on that shortly. This is the Washington State Department of Commerce Energy Efficiency Grant, brought to you from Facilities. Moving now to section 7, proclamations, recognitions, awards, and presentations. You have 2 proclamations and 1 presentation tomorrow. First up is proclaiming September 15th, 2024 through October 15th, 2024 as Hispanic and Latino Heritage Month in Pierce County. And that was requested by Councilmember Herrera. And next we have proclaiming September 17th as Constitution and Citizenship Day and September 17th through the 23rd as Constitution Week in Pierce County. And that was requested by Councilmember Krueger. And the presentation is the Sheriff's Department Staffing and Technology Update. And that will be with Nick Hausner from the Sheriff's Department. Moving to section 8, resolutions, you have 4 items here. First is R 2024-195. That's authorizing the executive to pursue disposal of certain tax title properties by private negotiation without a call for bids. This received a due pass at rules on September 9th. And the next 3 are all interlocal agreements between Pierce County and different jurisdictions related to the provision of law enforcement services. First is R 2024-196, and this agreement is with University Place. This received a due pass at rules on August 26th. The next is R 2024-197, and this is an ILA with, let's see, Pierce Transit, excuse me, for law enforcement services. This received a due pass at rules on August 26th as well. And the last is R 2024-198. And this is an interlocal agreement with the city of Edgewood for law enforcement services. And this also received a due pass at rules on August 26th. And those are your agenda items for tomorrow afternoon's regular council meeting.
Thank you, Ms. Long. Are there questions or comments about tomorrow's regular meeting agenda? Councilmember Hitchin?
Thank you, Chair. My question is about the Sheriff's Department update. Is the goal of that to be kind of a public facing update of where our staffing and technology and bring them along? Because I feel like we've already had that update in public safety. So
that is, thank you for asking. That is largely the request, and also to be a precursor to the interlocal agreements that are coming before the council, so that we could take head on some of the questions that you raised and others in committee about staffing and how staffing contract cities, how that does or does not affect the staffing requirements in unincorporated areas of the county.
okay, thank you.
Councilor Denson.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Regarding R 2024-195, that's the tax title property sales. Do we know if the Parks Department is going to be here to kind of talk through any plans that they have for that property?
That would be a question for either Mr. Taylor or Mr. Boki.
And it would be wonderful if Mr. Wambach is here, if he could show the maps and any information that we have. If we don't have any, that's fine too, but it's a significant chunk of land the community is really interested in.
Yes, so staff will coordinate with facilities and parks to make certain we have appropriate staff present that can present the information that you're interested in.
Thank you. I'm
Yep.
excited about that. And
Yep.
also, just as a logistical note, when I click on the agenda items, I clicked on this one and the next two, it just goes to a page that says there is no proposal or, so I think the links are maybe not working.
We'll take a look at that.
Okay. I clicked on through and
Yeah.
it all said there is no proposal, whichever one I was looking at. So thank you.
Thank you for catching that. For the record, Councilmembers Campbell and Morel have joined us. Councilmember Herrera.
Chair, just wanted to let folks know that a couple of amendments might be coming for our 2024 196 and 197. One of them is going to be a technical amendment, changing some, I think the year around on some of the technical part. And the other one was something that was agreed to by the cities. But when it was uploaded, wasn't added to it. So we can talk about that a little bit more. But these should be coming up pretty soon for tomorrow.
Thank you. Are these drafted already?
I have not seen drafts of them. It is related. Oh, there's Andrea.
Ms. Kelly?
Thank you. Andrea Kelly, council staff, they are being drafted and submitted for tomorrow afternoon.
Thank you. Are you able to speak more to them? Are you at liberty
Certainly.
to speak more to them?
Certainly. So in regard to our 2024 197, that is the transit ILA. Originally, when the department submitted the proposal in EDS, it was listed as the original ILA and then an amendment to. For continuity's sake, the council legal staff changed that into a brand new ILA as opposed to amendment to amendment to amendment. And so there was a technical issue where in the original ILA, it says 2023 and it just needs to be updated to 2024.
Okay.
And then on the other two, there's an identical amendment being submitted both on University Place ILA and the Edgewood ILA, which is indicative of language that was also in the transit ILA, as the Sheriff's Department has spoken to. The intent is to not have to return to council annually for cost of living or cost of wage adjustments and annual adjustments in that regard. And so that language was included in the transit ILAs. The drafts that were uploaded into EDS did not have that language in them yet. And so that language is being added. The cities are aware of that language. That was what was presented to them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Questions or comments about what Ms. Kelly just briefed on? Vice Chair Campbell?
Sorry, it's not exactly what you just briefed on, but how long are these ILAs for?
7 years.
7 years. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions about, we're going to get to the grant here that's up for consideration, but are there any other questions about any other items? Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Kelly. Okay, we do have one grant for consideration from the Washington State Department of Commerce. It's an energy efficiency grant being led by the Facilities Management Department. Ms. Chapman.
Yes, thank you. Good morning. Rebecca Chapman, council staff. You have before you a grant application from Facilities Management for an energy efficiency grant through the Washington State Department of Commerce. This grant is to improve existing public facilities with energy conservation measures and would be used at Sprinker Recreation Center to replace light fixtures and control LED fixtures. Light fixtures and controls to LED fixtures. The grant amount requested is $130,434. And there is a match requested from the county of $19,566, which would come from the Facilities Management Fund. And this is an internal services fund. We have Brittany Squire and Stephanie Leslie here from the Facilities Management Department to assist with any questions.
Thank you. Ms. Lizel or other department staff, do you have anything to add?
No, nothing to add. This is Stephanie Lizel, but happy to answer any questions.
Anyone have any questions for department staff or Ms. Chapman? Councilmember Morel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Is the terms of the grant just reimbursement, or is it just a lump sum that will be given?
It's a reimbursement grant. Yeah. So as the project proceeds, we'll be, submitting reimbursement to the State Department of Commerce. Yeah.
Okay, is there a time frame the grant has to be?
Yes. So that's June 30th of 2025, which has a narrow window, which really kind of narrowed in the types of projects that we considered to for this grant.
And would this be a job that facilities would take on internally?
We will be contracting the work. Yeah. The actual removal and installation of the new fixtures. Yeah, it would be done by a subcontractor.
It's a pretty tight window to get a contract out and
It'll be
Get it
with one of
complete.
our, sorry,
go ahead. I'm just making a comment. You can respond. Thank you.
it'll be with one of our existing on-call contractors, so we won't have to do a full, RFP process. Hargis Engineers Inc., who we have as an electrical engineering on-call already.
Okay, what was the amount? 134, so it's below the threshold. Okay, got it.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you for those questions. I don't see any others. Thank you for being here
Great.
to.
Thank you so
answer.
much.
Thank you for pursuing this. It'll help us save money and pollution. Thank you. Item number 3, review of committee agendas for the week. Ms. Long.
Thank you. So this afternoon at 1:30, you have a Community Development and Environment Committee meeting. There is one presentation, and that is a briefing on the Comprehensive Plan Periodic Update. And that will be with Robert Perez from Planning and Public Works. Tomorrow, beginning at 9:30, you have a Health and Human Services Committee meeting. You have 2 presentations and 3 proposals to consider. The first is a community needs assessment presentation that will be with Human Services staff and Metropolitan Development Council staff. Next is the Veterans presentation, and that will be with Human Services staff. First of the proposals is our 2024-205. That's approving expenditures of the Behavioral Health and Therapeutic Courts Fund for a mobile community intervention response team. And that has a final council action date of October 1st. Next is our 2024-206, and this is approving expenditures of Behavioral Health and Therapeutic Courts Fund for Behavioral Health Navigation Services. This also has an October 1st final hearing date. And finally, you have our 2024-207. This is another approving expenditures of the Behavioral Health and Therapeutic Courts Fund. This is for Certified Community Behavioral Health Clinic expansion and implementation. And this also has an October 1st final hearing date. And noon is your regular Tuesday study session, and you just have your usual agenda items. At 3 p.m. is your regular council meeting. On Wednesday, September 18th, there is a Flood Control Zone District Executive Committee at 9:30. And those are your meetings for the remainder of this week.
Thank you, Ms. Long. Any questions from Ms. Long about questions for the remainder of the week? Councilmember Cruver.
Thank you, Chair. About remainder of the week, I wanted to ask on the 205, proposal 205, R 2024.
Yes.
And is this just a continuation of the MCERT? Because we started that, I believe, several years ago. And it would be correct to assume it's always been funded every year anyway.
Thank you for the question. Here comes Ms. Waterland. Ms. Waterland, Councilmember Cruver, can I ask you to repeat your question, please?
On the proposal 2024-205 for funding MCERT. So this is a continuation of each year that we have funded that. Would it be correct? Because we set that up several years ago.
Yes,
And so I'm assuming it's been funded every year. I'm just,
it has
And this-
been. This will take the contract through the signing through the end of 2025. Excuse me, I ran a short distance.
okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you can run.
Any other questions about the agendas for the week? Thank you, Ms. Waterland. Councilmember Cruver, did you have anything?
Yes, Chair, I do. Thank you. I just wanted if we could go back to 195, which is the certain tax titles without a call for bids. Is there an explanation on why we're doing that without a call for bids? Because I'm looking at the orthography, those are quite significant parcels.
Mr. Taylor?
Thank you. So state law allows for tax title properties to be transferred to other units of local government. And this resolution, if you'll note, the 5 parcels that are included within it are all transfers to local government. So that's what that's the purpose of this. So 4 of the parcels would be transferred to the Pierce County Park and Recreation Services Department for their custody. That's what Councilmember Denson was referring to earlier, to have park staff present. The 5th parcel would be transferred to the city of Tacoma. So that's what's proposed, is for those transfers to occur as allowed by law.
Does it designate the value of, I want to say, gift of the land that is being,
I'm not certain if I understand the question.
if it were to go to bid, I imagine it would bring in a substantial dollar amount.
If you're asking if
Is-
there's been an appraisal conducted, I'm not aware that there's been an appraisal conducted. There's certainly the information on assessed value of the property as determined by the assessor treasurer that's in the file.
Mhm.
But I'm not certain of that an appraisal has been done, nor is one required to be performed, because these transfers are allowed to go from tax title to another unit of local government. And that's what the executive has proposed to the council in this resolution.
Okay, I'll inquire a little bit more later. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks for the questions. Any other questions about agendas for the week or tomorrow's regular meeting agenda? Not seeing any. We're at item number 4, discussion of administrative items. Ms. Murray.
Good morning, Julie Murray, Chief of Staff. I have a couple of items to discuss with the members. The first is just to give you for your awareness, I will be on vacation next week. And so if you need any assistance, you can speak with our Deputy Chief of Staff, Hugh Taylor. The second really the remainder of my discussion really talks about the work we're going to need to do between now and the end of the year. We kind of did some review of proposals that we see forthcoming. We know we have 2 large pieces of legislation, or multi-pieces of it. We're going to have the mid-biennial budget coming to us at the end of October. And then we also have potentially all of the comprehensive plan updates. And so looking at the time needed for council, we still believe we can do the committee reduction 2 weeks, but the community development committee will be meeting on the 21st, which is the first Monday from the committee reduction week. That's a regularly scheduled week for them anyway. October is one of those months where we had 5 weeks. So that last week, there were very few committees meeting. So we can accomplish that reduction that week fairly easily. But it does appear that we will need to meet on October 29th as the council for purposes of potentially reviewing proposals, but in large part, we have a number of proposals that would need to be introduced, just so that we can make sure we have them in our possession for the month of November. And so that comes to kind of talking about the month of November. It is going to be a rather packed month. And so what we're going to do is put time on your calendars, potentially for either committees of the whole to meet dealing with budget, or potentially even CDC to meet dealing with comp plan. We're not going to decide now what that time is for, but we do want to make sure that members are available for either purpose. So you'll see some things coming out on PC Council calendar for your calendar. And I think we're just going to say reserved council time or reserved committee time, because we'll just need to know as we approach them, 1, if they're needed, and 2, for which purpose. But it just seems like aligning in terms of the proposals coming to council is going to happen mostly in the last half of October, which means that the work of November and December is quite heavy. And so we want to make sure that we just at least have, that you don't book yourselves out when we actually need you for that work. I think the thinking has been trying to get the mid-biennial budget done by our normal date of the week of Thanksgiving. Work that process, but what will come from the comp plan is really right now kind of an unknown. So see that forthcoming, but it does enable us to kind of take at least a committee break end of October in preparation for that. But, you know, at this point, we're kind of waiting for those proposals to come from the exec. And so we just need to be able to be flexible and adjust our time. So happy to answer anybody's questions that they might have.
Any questions for Ms. Murray about anything at all? Thank you. Under other business, for members' information, at the end of the study session packet, as always, is the expanded schedule for your information and what's in the legislative hopper. So you can see what is anticipated and forthcoming. Before we get to the executive session, is there any other business by other members? Ms. Long, any other business before we get to the executive session?
No, not today. Thank you.
And before we get there, Councilmember Herrera, we have staff in person. We're meeting here in chambers. Councilmember Herrera, are you okay if we do the executive session without you?
Yes.
I'll take that as a yes.
Do
Ms.
you
Long,
object to it?
Ms. Long, can you state the purpose of the executive session?
Thank you. So this is an executive session authorized by RCW 4230-110-1I. The purpose is to discuss with legal counsel matters of pending or potential litigation to which the county is or may become a party, or to discuss the legal risks of a proposed action when public knowledge of the discussion is likely to result in an adverse legal or financial consequence to the county. And as usual, before we go into executive session, Mr. Chair, if you'll state the time at which we'll return to an open session, and I'll just note for the public, the only item left on the agenda following executive session is adjournment.
Thank you. Mr. Taylor, based on the responses I saw over the weekend, my sense is this will be a 20-minute conversation. Do you have a different recommendation?
No, sir, I think that's accurate.
Okay, so we'll be in an executive session for 20 minutes. We'll be back at 11:45. We anticipate adjournment at that time. We'll be in recess to 11:45. So the council is back from its executive session. The time is 11:46 a.m. And there being no further business before the Pierce County Council in Monday's study session, we are adjourned.